Hello, everyone out there. Can all of you hear me? Please let me know if you guys can hear me with a yes. A very warm welcome to all of you out there. I can see people still joining. So, a very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you guys. GMAT Wiz welcomes you to this webinar on GMAT CR. And do let me know with a yes if you guys can hear me loud and clear. Do let me know that, guys. In the meantime, let me ask you a question. I'm sure that during your CR practice, you must have recognized certain patterns in the GMAT CR questions. How many of you all have recognized such patterns, guys? Yes? Hi, Shubham. So, KTH Facts. Hello there. Yes. Sorry. So, I assume the yes is for the fact that you can hear me. The other question that I asked you guys that during your practice, while you were prepping up for your GMAT and when you were practicing GMAT CR questions, how many of you all came across certain patterns in CR questions? Were you able to recognize certain patterns? And I'm not talking about the question types. I'm not talking about assumption question type or weekend question type. I'm talking about across all question types. Did you recognize some patterns in the stimulus of the CR, in the paragraph, in the argument of the CR? Have you done that? How many of y'all have done that? Because in today's session, I'm going to talk about recognizing some of these common patterns and applying certain guidelines or frameworks for pre-thinking for these patterns. All right. So, hi, Anish. Hello, guys. I would love to hear back from your end. I can see a lot more of you are there. So, would love to see you replying back and knowing where you are, because we are all faceless, but definitely we can be heard. So Katie says, just a fresher and I'm in your first year. Okay. So hope you're going to also get some insights into this. What about you, Anish and Shubham? And the others who haven't yet said hello, so I don't know your names, guys. Would be lovely to hear your names from you. Yes. So I'm going to set the agenda, all right? So today, in today's session, we are going to talk about certain common patterns that you see in these GMAT CR questions. Okay, and what to do, how to pre-think on those common question types or common question constructions. In the meantime, let me look at some more of these comments here. So, Anish, you're a GMAT student, so you would already know what I'm talking about when I say common patterns. Hi, Shubham. So great to have you guys here. I'm waiting for some of the others to say hello because I can see the numbers there. Although I guess, um, okay. Thank you, Anish. I'm sure. So Shubham is writing his GMAT in the coming months. So Shubham, again, the question to you that you must have noticed these common patterns and frameworks. All right. So a little bit about that in a few moments. And in the meantime, quickly, I'm Sunita, the verbal head at GMAT Wiz, and I'm also the lead course architect here. I've got over a decade of experience in teaching students, mentoring students. I have mentored nearly 30,000 plus students in my career so far. I've scored the 99 percentile in the verbal section quite a number of times now, guys. And teaching is my passion. That's how I am here. Let's quickly set the agenda for the session today. So, as I've promised, we are going to quickly take a very, very brief look at the four common patterns or question constructions that you see on GMAT. Please remember, these are not the only kinds of constructions or patterns, but these are the most common ones that we have identified in our research. All right. And we are also going to look at the frameworks or the guidelines that can be used to pre-think for such common constructions. So first I'm going to talk to you about the constructions, then I'm going to talk to you about the frameworks used for some of these common constructions. And of course, we are going to talk about how to apply those frameworks. Right? Great. So let me see if I've got some other queries out here. No, doesn't look like it. So hello guys. We are here today discussing the common construction types on CR. Great. And I hope all of you who have gathered here will benefit from the webinar, will learn, will take away something from the webinar today. All right. So without more ado, without wasting any more of your time, let me quickly talk about the four most common construction types. How many of y'all have come across questions which are, you know, typically you would find these constructions in assumption, strengthen, weaken, and evaluate questions. Constructions where we talk about a plan and goal. You know, usually you will find that the stimulus talks about a plan. A certain party would have a plan, and there would be a certain goal to that plan. Some details are usually given about the plan, some details may be given about the outcomes of the goal, and then the question will usually talk either about the success of the plan or the failure of the plan. Okay, so how many of y'all have come across or identified this pattern? Come on guys, let me hear a resounding yes from your end. How many of y'all have come across this kind of construction type? You will find such kind of plan goal questions in assumption, strengthen, weaken, evaluate questions most commonly, but you would also find them in some other question types also. Yes, guys, uh, would love to hear from you. So Anish has come across those questions. What about you, Shubham, and the others, guys? I'm really waiting to hear a hello from your end. Okay, so Anish, the reason behind that could be the way you're approaching the stimulus. So Shubham hasn't come across any such plan goal question. So Shubham, haven't you come across a CR question where the stimulus says, okay, so and so has come up with this plan to solve this problem, and then the question asks you that the plan assumes which of the following, or which of the following weakens the goal of the plan, or which of the following shows that the plan will not achieve its goal. Hi, Bhavya. Thank you for reaching out. So, Bhavya, have you come across these plan goal questions? Because I'm going to discuss some OG questions today and some of the GMAT Viz questions today, which reflect such constructions. All right. So, you will find that you have these plan goal questions, okay? Questions which talk about the plan. And today we are going to talk about how to pre-think, in what direction to pre-think for such questions. Then another very common construction that you will find on CR questions is the causality based questions. So causality questions, in such questions you find that the stimulus talks about the stimulus has a conclusion, and in the conclusion you have a causality. Okay, that is, the conclusion contains a cause and effect. Let's say if the conclusion says therefore x caused y, or x led to y, or x was responsible for y, such kind of conclusions if you find in a stimulus, those questions are causality questions. Okay, then you have the comparison based questions. Now in a comparison question you will find that the stimulus um, talks about two scenarios, and then there is a comparison drawn, between the two scenarios. Let's say one scenario will say, okay, exercising is best for reducing weight. Another scenario might say, no, dieting is best for the weight. And then the question stem might ask you to identify which scenario is best. Here usually there would be some advantage of one scenario given over the advantage of over the other scenario, and the conclusion would be drawn accordingly. What you're required to do will depend on the questions, and that can differ, but basically the scenario is based on the comparison of two entities. Okay, then you have these quant based questions, questions which talk about percentages and ratios. Yes, CR questions talking about the increase in the percentage of something or the decrease in the ratio of something. All right, and these kind of questions require you to kind of make very small quantitative calculations, mostly based on profits and percentages. Okay, so how many of y'all have come across one or more of these constructions? Bhavya has. Thank you, Bhavya. What about the others, guys? There are nearly over 50 of you out here, so would love to hear back from you guys. I'm sure you would love me to address you by your name. So I already have the names Bhavya, Shubham, Anish, and KTH. What about the others, guys? Okay. So while you respond to that, so Shubham has come across more of causality and quant. I'll show you one of the OG plan goal questions, Shubham, and I'm sure you'll be able to therefore thereafter identify these plan goal questions. Okay. So today I'm going to discuss some of these constructions, not all of them. The time does not permit that. Okay. So the objective of these frameworks, the objective of identifying these common construction types was very simple. In my dealing with students, I realized that a lot of the students, a lot of you found pre-thinking a problem. Some of you would say that you don't know how to pre-think, like in which direction should you pre-think. If you have a question in front of you, how should you go about starting to pre-think? Sometimes you pre-think in the wrong direction. And when you're pre-thinking in the wrong direction, you're coming up with some very half-baked or incorrect assumptions. And when you go to the choices, you don't find any of your pre-thought assumptions as part of the answer choice. And then you feel lost. You then start probably feeling that, oh, I might have been pre-thinking in the wrong direction all along. I wasted so much time. Now let me just mark something and move on because I don't have time to waste. This is a very, very common occurrence with students who fight who have problems pre-thinking. So the purpose was to identify some of these common question types and to draw up a solution, to lay down some simple guidelines or frameworks for these questions. Sorry. So that you can think more efficiently and effectively, you can think in the right direction, think without wasting time. Okay, and that gave rise to some of these frameworks. So the first of the frameworks that I'm going to discuss today will be the plan goal arguments. Now here's a very simple question, guys. I'm going to start off the session with a simple question so that I can demonstrate to you how to use this framework. Yes, Anish. So in case you're going in the wrong direction, this particular session should help you think in the streamlined manner. All right. So I want you guys to give this question a shot. I'm going to give you 2 minutes. Currently, I don't want you to use any framework for this. Just solve it. Read it and solve it the way you would normally do without knowing in any frameworks or anything. Then I'm going to demonstrate using this simple question that how you can, pre-think on these questions. This is just a representative, a very quick, let's say, precursor to what is to come later. All right. So 2 minutes, get started. I'm going to mute myself in the meantime, guys. Just a small request, guys. Do not put in the answer choices till I request you to do so. Just solve this, and at the end of 2 minutes, I'm going to ask you to start putting in your answer choices. Okay. Till then, just hold on to them. Go ahead. All right, guys, you can start putting in your answer choices. Again, as I said, I've started with a medium difficulty level question so that I can demonstrate the framework to be used in such question patterns. Okay. And then I'm going to graduate towards more difficult questions. So, yes, guys, you can start putting in your answers. All right. Shubham, believe it's D. Anish D. Bhavya D. What about the others? Still waiting for some more answers to pop up. Okay. It seems the others haven't been able to solve the question. Or, hi, Aishwarya. Aishwarya is also of the opinion that D is the answer. Well, let's see. As I said, it is a simple question. However, let's see if the D is actually the answer. And if it is, why? Or if it isn't, why not? Hi, Sand Wong. D. Now, again, as I said, that the question is a simple one, but the purpose is to help demonstrate that what you can do for similar question types. Okay, great. So thank you so much, guys, for posting your answers here. Let me now start my analysis. And while I'm analyzing this, okay, I want you to listen very carefully to how I am going to derive the framework for pre-thinking. So notice how this question talks about in order to, okay, do something. The farmers have decided something. Look at the language. Okay, so you will very often have come across this language in GMAT CR questions. You know, in order to do something, somebody has decided to do something, somebody has planned to do something. So clearly, this in order to presents a goal, a target, an objective, and this decision to do something presents the plan. And more often than not, you have questions like, you know, what is the assumption while devising the plan, which of the following strengthens the plan, which of the following weakens the plan. So earlier on, some of you were saying you haven't encountered similar kind of, you know, this plan goal question. So this is a typical example of such questions, plan goal questions. And I'm going to show you how to pre-think in such plan goal questions. Now, this particular question may not have required too much of pre-thinking, but then you will encounter some more difficult and convoluted questions. And what do you need to do there? You know, that is what we're going to discuss in the next few steps. So let me see if I have any queries here. Not yet. So let me quickly get down to discussing this. But just before that, guys, announcing the Black Friday sale, you can grab the online prep course for of different durations. If you feel you just need to access the course for 2 months or 4 months or 6 months, you have these very special Black Friday sale prices. Mind it, each of these courses, so 2 months course or 4 months course or 6 months course, they will be giving you access to both the quant and the verbal courses. So at $99 you're getting both quant and verbal. At 169 you're getting both quant and verbal. At 199 you're getting both quant and verbal. All right, so do go ahead. This is one of those times of the year when you get the course at the lowest of the prices. All right, so here comes how we reach the framework for the plan goal questions. Okay, what is very important before we discuss the framework is to understand that the framework will work only if you have read and understood the argument very clearly. Sometimes you rush through reading the stimulus, and that kind of kills the pre-thinking. So you guys were saying, Anish was saying he was not able to pre-think in the right direction. That could be because you're rushing through the stimulus. So let's read this stimulus here and understand what the farmers have assumed while they were devising the plan. So I'm going to show you how I would read the stimulus. In order to protect their crops, as I said, in order to indicates, these words indicate a premise, and the premise contains, if I might be a little more slow here, in order to protect their rice from devastation by pests. So we are talking about somebody who wants to protect their rice crops from being destroyed by pests. Who are they? The farmers of Lethoso. And they have decided to introduce a certain kind of insect, that is the black ants. So this entire first statement is a premise, it's a fact, and this premise contains a plan and a goal. As I pointed out, in order to, this is the language which is most often used to indicate the objective or the goal. And here clearly the decision indicates the plan. The plan is to introduce black ants. Okay, let's read what the second sentence is saying. Sorry, my bad. The second sentence says research conducted on the ants. The ants means which ants? These black ants. So research says that these ants secrete liquids that are absorbed by the soil, and these liquids help the plants to ward off the pests. These pests year after year have halved the yields. So long sentence there, and this sentence is a third party finding. Third party is the research, right? The researchers. So the researchers have conducted the research, and the researchers are saying something. Okay, the researchers are saying that these ants will secrete a liquid. The liquid will be absorbed by the soil, and that is how the pests will be kept away. So that presents the mechanism of the plan as well, how the plan will work. Finally, we are saying therefore. So therefore is a conclusion trigger. The farmers are expecting full yields in the coming season. So the author is drawing the conclusion that because of this plan, okay, and what the farmers feel the plan will achieve, they are expecting that in the coming season their yields will not be destroyed, the yields will be full. So that's the conclusion here. Okay, clear? So this analysis is clearly telling me there is a plan that they have devised. They expect the plan to work. All right, they expect the plan to work. Now, step two is where we do the pre-thinking, and this is how the framework will be developed. Pay close attention. The question is based on the structure of a plan and goal. So a plan has a planning stage and a plan has an execution stage, right? So let's think like this before we get into that. Let us always make sure that we identify the exact plan. Now, this is a simple question. The plan is very clear, but sometimes the plan and the goal is not so clearly given in the question. So you have to read the stimulus carefully to understand what the plan is and write it out in short. So here the plan is introduce a species of black ants. Similarly, the next step is to identify the exact goal. Again, convoluted stimulus might contain the goal in a very hidden manner. Okay, so here you have to be very precise while you are identifying the goal. So the goal here is to protect the rice crops from pests. Okay, so that's the plan and goal. This is what we've done. Now, the third step is to follow three guidelines. What are these three guidelines? The first guideline is what happened during the planning stage. Now, this question tells you in which direction to think. You put yourself in the shoes of those farmers, the ones who are taking or making this plan, and think like them. What are they thinking? Okay, so you have to consider what they are thinking in order to take the plan. They are thinking that these black ants, they have got some research here saying that what the black ants are capable of. All right, so here when you're talking about the planning stage, think about what the plan has been based on. The plan has been based on the findings of research here, right? And the findings of the research is a third party finding, thus we can doubt it. So here the farmers, while devising the plan, while taking the decision, okay, they must have kind of had faith on this research. But what if the findings of the research are not correct? What then? In that case, the black ants may not really be effective. Therefore, here clearly, if the research is not correct, if the findings of the research is not correct, the conclusion would break down. So clearly, one assumption that has been made is that the research findings are accurate and will work as expected. All right. So you're thinking about what the plan was based on, and according to that, you came up with this assumption. Next is the carrying out of the plan, the execution stage. So think, let's say the decision has been made, and now the steps are being taken to introduce the black ants. Black ants are put into the soil. Now what is going to happen? Apart from what is the expected outcome of the plan, will something else which is not so good also happen? Okay, they have just decided to introduce the black ants, but we can kind of think ahead here. All right, so let's think ahead. What about alternate effects of the black ants? What if the black ants started eating away the plants? We don't know that, right? That is a missing information. What these black ants eat. If they eat the plants, then instead of increasing the yields would go down again. So the second assumption made is the black ants themselves will not feed on plants. See, it's very simple here because this is a simple question. But think how you can come up with assumptions using the same framework for more difficult questions. Similarly, what if the plants are harmed by the liquids directly? Okay, plants are going to absorb the liquid. The liquid kills the pests, but what if the liquid also kills the plants? Then also the yields would be devastated. So farmers have assumed that the liquid secretion of the black ants will not cause any harm to the crops, such that that's going to reduce the yield. So third assumption. See how many assumptions you're coming up with. Finally, the third guideline is what is the connection between the plan and the goal? The connection here is that the farmers are expecting full yields. Now, one reason for full yields not to take place is the pest. But what if something else happens and yields are disturbed? So clearly here, okay, the farmers have not taken into account anything else that might disturb the yields. Okay, so they are expecting full yields this season. All right, they expect the black ants to drive away the pests. What if something other than pests causes devastation to the crops in the coming season? Okay, so clearly, maybe too much of rainfall or something or the other. What if something like that happens and damages the crops? So clearly, here the farmers are assuming that nothing else will cause any harm to the crops to reduce the yields. So, see, we have been able to come up with four assumptions, guys. All right, four assumptions. Is this clear so far, guys? So, Abhiram, research conducted on the ants. Let's say if the farmers don't know about the research, then that is a further assumption that the farmers know about the research, because how else would they know that black ants can have an impact? There has to be some inference that we can draw here, that they have decided to use black ants. Why have they decided to use black ants? What the author is providing you the information that black research has shown black ants have this kind of impact. All right, Abhiram. So the author is presenting the research, and why is that being presented? In fact, that brings a very good question up, Abhiram. Thank you for asking that question. We always imagine your CR stimulus has three statements, right? Statement one, statement two, statement three. There must be a reason why those three statements have been provided in that order. So, why has the author provided the sentence about research immediately after telling us that the farmers have decided to introduce black ants? Clearly, the author wants us to make the connection. All right. Okay. So, great. So, four assumptions. Now, again, let me repeat. This was a simple question. However, the same three guidelines can be used to think in the right direction. That was the whole purpose, that you do not waste your time thinking in the wrong direction. You use the information given in the passage to pre-think. All right, that's the idea. Great, guys. Now, the final step is answer choice elimination, or what we call ACE at GMAT Viz. So the first choice, the yields this coming season will fetch higher profits. Now, clearly, in an assumption question, you have to identify from the options a necessary condition. Is it necessary that the yields fetch higher profits? Will that be the basis or the assumption behind the plan working? Remember, the conclusion ended at expecting full yields and not about what will be the profit on those full yields. All right. So, therefore, the conclusion is not concerned with full yield, and that is higher profits is totally not our concern. So, A was out, nobody chose A. If we look closely at B, and in some other sessions, I've had people choosing opting for B, and a lot of you did not actually give your answer. So I don't know if you've chosen anything other than D. This choice says the secretion of the black ants adds nitrogen to the soil, and the nitrogen helps in promoting the growth of rice grains. Now, this definitely supports that your yields will be high, but is it necessary that secretions have to add nitrogen to the soil? Not really. Even if the secretions of the black ants do not add nitrogen, we are using the negation here, even then the farmers can still expect full yields by warding off the pests. The conclusion is not breaking in this case, right? So this choice is merely a strengthener, and this is a very common trap. Sorry, guys. A strengthener on an assumption question is a common trap which you need to recognize. Okay, great. So nobody chose B. Again, if some of you have chosen B and not stated it outrightly, see why it cannot be the answer. The quality and quantity of the crops remain the same after the absorption of the ant secretion. Again, this looks attractive, right? It kind of indicates that, all right, if the quality and quantity of the crops remain same, then definitely the plan must work. But ask yourself, does the quantity and quality have to remain same? Not really. Even if the quality and quantity does not remain same, I mean, it could become worse. Not same could mean both. It could be better, it could be worse. All right. If the quality is better, it definitely strengthens the plan. If the quality is bad, it weakens the plan. But it is not a necessary condition that the quality remain the same. So this ambiguous impact rules out C. Okay. D was the correct answer, of course. The rice plants are not vulnerable to the liquid secretion. Is goes hand in hand with assumption 3 actually, where we were saying that the liquid secretions themselves don't start hurting the rice plants. Okay, that was our third assumption, and this goes in line with that. So the more fluently you're able to think up about the assumptions, the easier it is to eliminate choices. Let's look at E. The farmers have decided to go for pest resistant variety of seeds in the coming season. This is like showing that the farmers already believe that the black ants won't work and they are ready to adopt another plan. So this is talking about an alternate plan that doesn't have any effect, and therefore it is incorrect. All right, guys. So let me see if I have any queries. All right. So Shubham, which choice are you talking about? Which one? Which one are you saying is talking about ants in general? The nitrogen one, I think you're referring to, Shubham, right? Great. So, any queries, guys? You can go ahead and ask, because I'm going to bring up a plan goal question. But before that, let me quickly present the framework here. This is the framework for the plan goal questions, which you can use for all questions based on the plans. Identify the exact plan, step one. Identify the exact goal, step two. Follow the three guidelines. Think about what the planners thought during the planning stage, what is given in the passage, okay, what they thought about that information. So research was given, what did the planners think about the research? In this case, what happened when the plan was carried out, or what can happen when the plan is carried out? What are the possibilities? And if you find any connection existing between the plan and the goal, not necessary that you think of along all three lines. Any one line can also be used, any one guideline can be used to pre-think in the exam, because in the exam you won't have so much of time to pre-think about four assumptions. All right, so let me see if there are any questions. Shubham was talking about C. Well, C was, again, when you're talking about C and saying that the quality and quantity of the plants will remain the same, it wasn't about ants in general. The ants will always be evaluated in the context of the passage. Okay, remember that. So let me bring up the next question. This is an official question. For those of you who haven't encountered plan goal questions, this is a good opportunity to see that you do get these questions. these this common pattern, the plan goal pattern in questions. There are lots of questions based on plan and goal framework. All right, guys. So see if you can use the framework that I have just shared with you. See if you can use it. All right. 2 minutes, your time starts now, guys. And this time, I expect all of you to put in your answers when I tell you to put in the answers. Till then, just hold off. All right. All right, guys. I'm going to mute myself. Get started. All right, guys, start putting in your answers. Time up. Let's see what answers you guys have come up. Please, guys, do share your answers. That way, I also get to understand whether whatever I'm saying has been effective or not. The entire purpose is for you to have some takeaways from the session. Okay, so I've got Shubham saying it's E, Anish saying it's E. How about the others? Abhiram, Bhavya, Than Duong, Aishwarya. Then I am looking for KTH. Yes, guys. And the others too. Would love to hear from you guys. And in the meantime, let me quickly share with you the link to the free trial version of the course in case some of you are interested in it, and a link to set up free call with our experts. I'm just going to quickly share that with you. It's there on your screen. Hello, Mohit. Thank you for reaching out. Mohit says the correct answer is B. San says it should be B. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, San. How about the others, guys? I can see so many of you there. It would be lovely to hear from you, and it doesn't matter even if you're wrong. I'm not going to sit in judgment here. The idea is to see, where we might be going wrong, what we can do to avoid those mistakes. So currently, I have it's a kind of fight between choice B and choice E. Okay. Any other answers? Thank you, Tan. So let me remove that. I think now you can see Jayesh. Thank you. Jayesh is also saying B is the answer. Abhiram, you tell me. Let me quickly see. So I have the answers from Shubham, Anish, Mohit, and then Than, Jayesh. Abhiram is yet to put in his answer. What about you, Bhavya? Are you there? Would love to have your answer as well. Were you guys able to kind of use the framework? I'm going to show you again, demonstrate again how the framework can be used here. All right, so let me start the discussion. Here goes. Okay. Here, instead of the word plan, we have the word recommendation, which is the same. Recommendation, plan, decision, all right. All of them actually mean the same. So let's start reading. 12 years ago, and again 5 years ago. So basically, we are talking about twice. Okay, twice in the past. All right. There were extended periods. Extended periods means there were long periods. Long periods means long time duration. When the Darfur Republic's currency, so Darfur Republic is DR, let's say DR is a country, and the currency of DR is Punra. So twice in the past, DR's currency was weak. Okay. So twice in the past, P was weak. This is fact given to us. So this first sentence here is a fact, a premise. All right. And currently we don't know why it's been given. Then you will see right after weak, there is a colon here, and I'm falling back on my SC skills. Its value, its would be probably referring to the Pundra. Its value was unusually low relative to the world's most stable currency. So this part is kind of defining to me what this weak means. If Pundra was weak, what does it mean? Pundra's value was very low compared to other stable currencies of the world. Okay, so Pundra was weak twice in the past, and both the times, twice in the past it was weak. Both the times, a weak Pundra made. Now, made means caused, right? So here is where you have to read these stimulus very clearly, precisely. When you say weak Pundra made Darfur's manufactured products a bargain on the world market, you are basically saying that the cause was the weak currency Pundra, and the effect was it made Darfur's products a bargain. Now, if you already know what that means, it's easy. But if you don't know what is meant by made the manufactured products a bargain, if you follow up, it's written Darfur's exports were up substantially. So somehow people on the world market were ready to buy Darfur's products. Okay, and therefore Darfur's exports increased a lot. So the effect was exports increased. Okay. See how I am understanding. So the author is telling us that there must be a reason why these two things are given one after the other. Twice in the past, Pundra was weak, and both the times the weak Pundra was the reason Darfur's exports were up. All right. So clearly, if the value of Pundra was low, then the manufactured products became a bargain. It means the manufactured products of Darfur were cheaper on the world market. So far, I just have some facts given and I don't know anything what I need to do here. Now, now we are talking about the present. Now, all right. Some politicians are saying that in order to cause another similar size increase in exports. So, in order to is, remember what? Goal. So, the goal now is, okay, cause a similar increase in export. All right. This is very important. Similarly sized increase, not just increase, but a similar increase that was seen in the past. If you want that, so the in order to indicates the goal, I'll write G here. The government should allow. Who is saying this? The politicians. The politicians are saying the government should allow the pundra to become weak again. So what is the plan then? The plan is to weaken pundra. All right. So far, if you see, therefore, we just have a series of facts. All right. We don't know what we are supposed to do with this fact. So we'll also have to analyze the question stem to understand what we need to do. But so far, the stimulus is very clear. There is a plan and there is a target or goal to that plan. Let's see what we have to do. Which of the following, if true, provides the government with the strongest grounds to doubt? Okay, doubt means indicates clearly we have to weaken the politician's recommendation. Okay, so we have to prove that the politician's recommendation will not achieve its aim, right? So clearly the conclusion is, in order to cause another similarly sized increase in exports, the government should allow the pundra to become weak again, because twice in the history weak pundra led to high exports. Okay, this is the, sorry, this is not the conclusion. This is basically the third party recommendation. All right. And now we have to weaken this. So the scope of the argument is, any new piece of information that shows that weakening the pundra will not cause another similarly sized increase in exports. So hold on, this is the goal, this is the plan. So this part is basically the conclusion that I have to kind of indicate, that weakening the pundra will not cause another similar size increase in exports. Let me not write this as a conclusion. Let me say that is the task I have to do. Okay. So the third party conclusion, this can be said to be the third party conclusion. Let me call it the third party conclusion, is that weaken the pundra, cause and a similarly size increase in exports. And we have to show that weakening the pundra will not work. So clearly here the goal and plan. The plan or the recommendation is to weaken the pundra again. Goal is to cause another similarly size increase in exports. What are the three guidelines? What happened during the planning stage? Now, who is planning? The politicians. Can anybody out there tell me what the politicians have assumed? Thank you, Abhiram, for your answer. So the fight is between B and E. Can anybody tell me what the politicians have assumed? I'm talking about the assumption. Any idea? They are the planners, right? They are the planners. So, what do you think they have assumed? Anybody? Any answers? So, Anish, weakening the pundra will increase the manufacturing. That they haven't assumed. All right. Weakening pundra leading to increase in exports is not an assumption, Shubham. That is what the recommendation is saying. But what have they assumed while they have recommended that? Very good, Than. They have assumed that the old plan will have the same effect now. So, if I really have to use a very blanket term, I would say that the politicians have assumed that what happened in the past will happen again now. Right? Politicians have assumed that whatever played out in the past, twice in the past, okay, that will play out again now. And if that plays out again now, then weakening the Pundra now will again cause a similarly sized increase in the exports. So if you have to build a weakener on this, you have to show that whatever happened in the past may not happen again now. All right, a weakener would be along those guidelines. Now, let's say that let's say the government does take the politicians' advice, okay, and weakens the Pundra. So the expected outcome was to increase the exports. But in order to increase exports, what do we need to do, guys? If you want to increase the exports, what do you need to do? Can you guys point out? If you want to increase your export of anything, if a country wants to increase its exports, what does it have to do before it can increase its exports? You want to increase your sales. What are one of the things, what is one of the things that you have to do to increase the sale? Yes, very good, Abhirup. You have to produce in similar amount. If you want to export in similar amount, you have to at least produce in similar amount. You have to manufacture more. All right. Thank you, Bhanu. Sell for lower prices. So, Bhanu, the Pundra, if you're making it weak, anyways, you're selling the goods for lower prices on the world market. All right. So, that can be inferred. But the point is that in order to export, you definitely have to make sure that you are in your country, you have that much of surplus production, right? Otherwise, how will you increase? So, clearly here, at the execution stage, what if the manufacturing industries cannot produce enough to achieve similar size exports? Okay, so this would be a weakener, right? That the MIs could not produce that much that they could have, that there would could be a similarly sized increase in exports for whatever the reason be. Okay, and finally, if you want to increase your export, what should you, again, another condition that is required for exports to be fulfilled, what is that? If I want to sell more, if I want to sell more, what else do I need? I need to produce more. My prices should be lower. So prices are lower, we already know, because Pundra is being made weak again. We have to produce more, we've already taken into account. What else do you need for your sales to increase, for your exports to increase, guys? So this is a common, buying and selling pattern question as well. Yes, what do you need here? Very good, Shubham. There should be buyers, Abhirup. Very good. So here we go again. So the plan and goal here in this case is connected by the exports and the demand for those manufactured goods. So clearly there should be a similar demand for Darfur's exports, right? If there isn't similar demand, then this plan is not going to work. So see, by thinking along the three guidelines, you could come up with three possible weakeners. One weakener would be, let's say, whatever happened in the past will not happen in the same way now. Manufacturing industries will not produce in the same or similar quantity to cause a similarly sized increase. The demand for Darfur's exports would not be there, would have gone down. These kind of things can cast the doubt on the outcome of the goal. All right. So here we look at A. Now nobody has chosen A, and A is not the answer. A is talking about politicians who are making the recommendation now. They made that same recommendation. If they made the recommendation in the past and the recommendation worked, because in the past it worked, in the past it worked, and if the same politicians are making the recommendation now, high chances that it might work again. I have given irrelevant, but I would say it can be a strengthener also. Same politicians recommending, if their recommendation worked in the past, no reason to doubt the recommendation won't work. So this choice is definitely not a weakener. Let's look at B. A lot of you have chosen B, and some of you haven't chosen B also. Let's see what B says. B is saying, after several decades of operating below peak capacity. Who was operating below peak capacity? Darfur's manufacturing sector. So what we are saying is, Darfur's manufacturing sector, okay, in the past, the Darfur Republic's manufacturing industries, okay, uh, were producing below capacity, below, well below peak capacity, much less. Now it is operating near peak levels. Okay, so now we are talking about Darfur Republic's manufacturing industries producing almost full capacity, near peak levels, producing almost maximum. That means today, if they wanted to produce more to export, they can't do that. So Darfur manufacturing sector had the scope to increase its output when Pundra was weak in the past because it was producing below capacity. But now that it is producing at near peak levels, okay, it has little scope to increase the output. So even if Pundra is made weak, exports may not see a similarly sized increase because Darfur may not be able to produce enough to export. This is what B is suggesting, and therefore B is the correct answer. Some of you have marked E, and we are going to see why E is not correct. Yes, Bhanu, availability of market is the same as saying there should be demand for the products. All right. So let's see what makes E the wrong answer then. Let's quickly see that. Let's go to C. C again is totally out of scope because it talks about the economy of a country already experiencing a rise in exports and how that economy will become healthier. So the concern of the conclusion is not for the economy to become healthier, but for the exports to rise in a similar fashion as the past. So C is out. D. D, in fact, can you guys tell me what is the impact of D on the conclusion? Guys, here's a question for all of you. What is the impact of D on the conclusion or on the recommendation? Let me put it this way. Can you tell me in what way the choice D is related to the recommendation? D is not the answer. We know that now. But in what way is it related to the recommendation? Go ahead, guys. Tell me. Yes, Than, it is a fact. What is this fact? If I use this fact and I apply it to the recommendation, is it helping the recommendation? Is it weakening the recommendation? It's not weakening. We already know. But what is it doing? It's definitely a fact. How is this fact affecting my conclusion? Shubham says it's out of scope. Okay, let's see. All right. What are we saying here? Those countries whose manufactured products compete with Darfur's. So we are saying Darfur's competitors, rivals. We are talking about them. All have stable currencies. Have stable currency. If they have stable currency and Darfur's currency is made weak, then their products will be expensive, right? And if their products is expensive, then Darfur's products will have a bigger chance of being sold. So I would say this is definitely a strengthener. Okay. So this choice actually strengthens the recommendation. It's telling us that the other competitors, their currencies are stable. At this time, if you weaken the Pundra, if you make the value of Pundra relatively low, then chances are that the exports of Darfur can increase. So D would have been a strengthener. E, some of you have marked E. Now E is saying, so E, so this is a plan, right? Let's call this plan A. This is the goal. This is plan A. Allow the Pundra to become weak again. This is plan A. and improve in the efficiency of Darfur's manufacturing plant. Let's call it plan B. Okay. So this choice is saying there is another plan, and this plan will make Darfur's products a bargain on the world market without. So we are saying plan B can work. Okay. No need to use plan A. Does that weaken plan A, guys? If I say no need to use plan A, does it weaken plan A? You're supposed to point out whether a plan will work or not. So per the question stem, we have to show the plan won't work. The plan won't work, but choice E is saying plan is not needed. It's not the same, guys. I have to actively prove that the plan won't work. But in E, I'm just saying that I have another plan which will work. But that doesn't mean I have another plan, doesn't mean that the original plan will not work. Okay. So E is not the correct choice. E means there is an alternate way to increase Darfur's exports that doesn't involve the weakening of currency. If it doesn't even involve the weakening of currency, how can we say that weakening will help or not help? Therefore, E is incorrect. Guys, are we clear? Do answer a yes, a quick yes, if you're clear about this question. At GMAT Ways, we lay a lot of emphasis on teaching you how to read the stimulus correctly, how to apply these frameworks correctly. All right. Good. Thank you, guys. You can see some yeses there. With that, we are now next going to look at causal arguments, the framework that should be used for causality arguments. Now, what is causality, guys? Once again, let me say causality is basically a relationship where you show a cause and effect. Now, in GMAT CR, some stimulus contains a cause and effect relationship, which basically means there is one event which causes event B, and that means that event A is the cause and event B is the effect of that cause. All right. So let's look at an example. If I say the unusually low amount of rainfall this year led to resulted in low production of corn. So clearly here event A is unusually low amount of rainfall this year, and it has caused the next event, which is low corn production. So this kind of relationship is known as a cause effect relationship. Something has been attributed as the sole reason behind some other effect. Clear? So when you have this kind of causality present in the conclusion of an argument, then it is a causality based argument. All right. And the assumption behind a causal argument are same for every causal argument. Okay. And that's the beauty. A causal argument contains very set assumptions. These assumptions are same for all causal arguments, guys. Okay, in other CR arguments, your assumptions change with the scenario. But in a causal argument, the assumptions are same. I'm going to discuss that. Let's look at an example. I'll ask you to take a moment to read this example. Read this example, guys, all of you. Okay, so per this example, okay, last year two things happened around the same time, because we are saying along with. Okay, number of vehicles being driven on the roads increased, and there was also an increase in the air pollution level. So the author says along with. Okay, and then the author concludes the exhaust from the vehicle must have led to the increase. So the premise only tells us that it happened along with it. It doesn't tell us, the premise is not telling us which one happened first and which one happened next. Okay, but the author is drawing a cause and effect relationship. All right, the author is saying that increase in the number of vehicles being driven on the road must have led to the increase in the air pollution. So such conclusions make the argument a causal argument. If the conclusion contains a cause and effect, it is a causal argument. So here we can ask, what is the author assuming? Okay, what are the assumptions the author makes while drawing a cause and effect relationship? Minded, the premise only said two things happened at the same time. So clearly the author is making certain assumptions here. The first assumption author is making is A must have happened before B. Remember, your this just said it happened along with. But the author, when trying to draw this conclusion, has jumped to the conclusion that A happened before, must have happened before B. Because if A did not happen before B, then it cannot be the cause. So that's the first assumption in any causal argument, that the cause must have happened before the effect. All right. And you can weaken such causes by showing that the second event happened first. All right. Similarly, assumption 2, nothing other than event A caused event B. Clearly, if something else can be responsible behind the increase in air pollution, let's say some construction of manufacturing industries and things like that, if that is the reason, then the author cannot draw the conclusion that event A caused event B. So clearly the author here thinks there is no alternative cause, no alternate cause is there that could have caused B. So this is again, no alternate cause is also an assumption. Similarly, there is no reverse causality. That means, let's say, for example, in this case, the author is assuming that increased air pollution did not cause an increase in the number of vehicles. Like, it's not like that people started driving more vehicles because there was already an increase in the air pollution. Okay, so these are the three assumptions which are there behind every causal argument, and you can always weaken the causal arguments by negating these three assumptions. So causal argument, the framework, let's discuss that. The core assumption is no other cause is responsible for the effect. So the first step is to identify the causality. For convenience's sake, let's say the cause is X and the effect of that cause is Y. So the three guidelines that you have to follow here is X happened before Y. That is the assumption. Okay. There is no other relationship or correlation that exists between X and Y. Like, they are not a coincidence or they are not being caused by a common cause. They are the cause and effect of one another, and therefore X happened before Y. Second guideline is no alternate cause or nothing else caused Y. So this is the framework. If there were any other cause, then your conclusion cannot stand. Finally, the third guideline is no reverse causality. That means Y could not have caused X. So any choice which says X happened before Y, there was nothing else that could have caused Y, and Y did not in turn cause X, these three are the basic assumptions behind any causal argument. So the next question we are going to solve by using these three assumptions. Okay, here comes the question, guy. Go ahead. All right, guys, I hope you're ready with your answers. If you are, please put in the answers. It isn't a very easy question, but it isn't a very hard one either if you get the conclusion clear. Reading the question stem is an art in its reading the stimulus is an art in itself, guys, and an art which needs to be learned. All right, so I have Than giving the answer as C. What about the others? Thank you, Than. Bhanu, Shubham, Abhiram, Anish, Bhavya. Then I have, I guess there was another name somewhere up, down. I think it was Mohit, right? Jayesh. So let me see your answers. Okay. Than says C, Anish says B, Bhanu says E, Abhiram says A. Wow. So we have A, B, and Shubham says D. So we have five of you choosing five different answers. Now that is something. Okay. So only one of you is correct, obviously. And we also need to see whether whoever is correct for the right reasons. All right, guys. So let's get this rolling. We have one more question coming up after this on which you will apply the causality framework, and that will be a strengthened question. This is an assumption question. So let's get started. Now, this was a fairly long stimulus and lots of data here. But simplifying the data very clearly here, we know that 50 years ago, crocodiles, so there is a fact here, all right. We are being told that crocodiles did not exist earlier in Fauna County. They were brought from outside to Fauna County. And the second sentence gives us lots of information. It tells us the current situation, what is happening now. Now the crocodiles are found in huge numbers. They are hunting a lot, and they are hunting the Mina fish. Mina fish is the source of omega 3, and thus clearly it means that we can infer here that the local people are probably facing a shortage in the supply of omega 3, and the direct reason for that is the huge crocodile population. Okay, so two pieces of information. We know that crocodiles are not natives, number one. Number two, we know that crocodiles are reducing the population of Mina fish. All right, let's read further. Here in this line, we are told about the plan. The plan is to introduce the Runa fish, and the Runa fish is poisonous to crocodiles. So clearly, the plan is to kill the crocodiles. One doubt that might arise is what will happen if the Runa fish is accidentally, eaten by humans, or will they poison be poisonous for humans? That is kind of ruled away. That Runa is not poisonous for the humans. All right. Okay. So uh, let's see. Here, the county officials want to bring down the numbers. Their plan is to introduce Runa. Runa is not poisonous to humans. However, clearly tells us that there is some kind of probably drawback to this plan. All right, there is a possibility the Runa will harm the small native lizard. Okay, so the plan has a small drawback. The drawback is the Runa is harmless for the humans, but it might harm some small native lizards in the water. How? We don't know yet. So all these are about the plan and what will its possible effects be. So clearly one effect is that the native lizards might be harmed. The other effect that we can infer is the crocodiles will die because it is poisonous to crocodiles. But is there any other effect? We don't know. Let's read on. The officials plan, therefore, may be good for the county people. So the author is not very sure about this. Author says the plan may be good for the county people, but the plan will obviously increase the threat to native aquatic life. When we say increase the threat, it means currently there is a threat, and that threat will increase. This is there. So clearly here, okay, the conclusion is this entire sentence. Now, in this conclusion, if you see, we are talking about the plan having two effects, right? One possible effect and the other definite effect. Okay, the possible effect and the definite effect. So let me say the plan is the cause. Okay, cause is introduction of Runa fish. Effect one is it will be good for the county people. So we can infer that the omega 3 supply will no longer be threatened. That means Meena fish will recover. We can infer that if it may be good for the county people. The other effect is the threat to the native aquatic life will increase. Now, which of these two effects is the main intention of the author, guys? Effect one or effect two? Tell me. Thank you, Priyank. Priyank also believes the correct answer should be D. Let's see. Only one of you is correct so far. So one or two of you, in case D is the answer. Even I don't know that right now. So yes, guys, which of the two effects is the main conclusion? Effect one or effect two? Come on, tell me. Answer me. Okay, Abhiram believes it's effect one, Shubham believes it's effect one, Than believes it is effect two. How will you decide, guys? Remember, if effect one was the main goal, then the author would not have gone on to say that it will increase. Okay, so clearly, the main purpose of the author is to point out that look, this plan may or may not be good for the county people, but it will definitely be bad for the native aquatic life. So it is effect two, which is the main conclusion here. All right, you have to understand absolutely, Abhiram. Whichever weighs more will be the main idea. So what weighs more is the certainty. Okay, something that you're not certain about obviously will carry lower weightage. So very important to recognize your conclusion. Okay, so the main conclusion is the plan will increase the threat to the native aquatic life. Okay, so with that, the cause is the plan to introduce Runa. The effect is increase the threat to native aquatic life, introduce the Runa fish. Okay, understand that. So guideline one was X happened before Y. Since the plan has not been put into effect, so this does not apply right now. Okay. Let's go to guideline number two. No alternate cause can lead to the stated effect. If I use the language, the same language of this sentence, then I am assuming that nothing else at present, nothing, look at the language, nothing else at present can cause. What is the stated effect? This is the stated effect, right? So nothing else at present can cause an increase in the threat to the native aquatic life, right? In other words, you are saying nothing else is a bigger cause or a bigger threat. If nothing else can increase the threat at present, it means you are saying nothing else is a bigger threat to the native aquatic life. And in the context of the passage, what can be a bigger threat? What if the small lizards are also being eaten by the crocodiles? We are told that the crocodiles are eating the Meena. What if they are also eating the small lizards? Then, by introducing the Runa, they are actually saving them, right? Then your conclusion will break down. By introducing Runa, you are not increasing the threat, but you're decreasing the threat. Clearly. So here we are basically saying crocodiles not a bigger threat to native aquatic life. Is this clear, guys, so far? Okay, great. So third guideline was no reverse causality. So the author is also assuming that the small lizards are not somehow going to harm the Runa fish. All right, if that happens, then the Runa cannot increase the threat to the native aquatic life. Small lizards, if they can harm the Runa, then also the conclusion would break down. So clearly, you have two assumptions. One, nothing else currently is a bigger threat to the native aquatic life, and that is why you are saying that if you introduce Runa fish, the threat will increase. Okay, and the other assumption is the small lizards themselves are not going to threaten the Runa. Now therefore we are basically saying that this is the only cause. the only cause behind increase in threat is the runa. All right. So let's see whether A is talking about anything else. We have to find the assumption. Remember the three assumptions. The three guidelines are, again, X happened before Y, not applicable. No other threat. We have to look for no other threat. Okay. Nothing else bigger threat. And we have to look that small lizards not cause harm to Runa fish. Does A say that? No. A is just talking about no other plan is there. Alternate plan is not same as alternate cause. Please remember that. We are evaluating a particular cause and effect here. If there is any alternate plan, I don't care. I am concerned about this plan and what will be the effect of this plan. So A is out. Okay. Think about it. Does it have to be necessary that the officials have not been able to come up with an alternative plan? Maybe they came up with an alternative plan but discarded that plan and thought of going ahead with this plan. So it is not a necessary condition. All right. B, is it necessary that controlled experiments have to prove the ability of Runa? Even if there haven't been any controlled experiments, it definitely supports the success of the plan. But is it necessary to have controlled experiments to prove the ability of Runa? Even if, let's say, no experiments were conducted and Runa was introduced, knowing that the Runa was harmful and poisonous to the crocodiles, then also your conclusion stands. Therefore, and remember, our conclusion was about the increase of the threat to native aquatic life and not about whether Runa can or cannot kill the crocodile population. So B is out. C, the Runa fish often prey on the eggs of the small lizard. We already know that there is a possibility that Runa will harm. The idea was increase the threat. So C, we already know in a way. We already know this, that Runa can cause harm to small lizard. How they can cause harm, that is no new information actually. C is out. Remember, you're looking for an assumption, a necessary condition which will show that definitely the plan will increase the threat to native aquatic life. D, crocodiles do not face threat of predation from any animals. Now, D looks attractive. Now, it looks as if this could be about reverse causality. So, let's try the negation. Negative choice says the crocodiles currently face the threat of predation from some animals. Now, what are these some animals? Do we know whether they are water animals or they are land animals? If some land animal eats crocodiles and the crocodiles are reduced, then the land animal will suffer. This is out of scope, right? If predators are aquatic animals, if aquatic animals eat crocodile and crocodile gets reduced, then the aquatic life suffers. Then we are kind of strengthening the conclusion. So clearly here your conclusion is not breaking down. Therefore, D is not the answer. All right. Two of you chose D. I hope you guys can see why D is not the answer. Shubham, Priyank. All right. And that leaves us with E. By now you already know E is the answer. This is in line with assumption 1 that for the native lizard population, crocodiles are not a danger. Because if crocodiles are a danger, then by killing crocodiles, that is the plan of introducing Runa fish to kill crocodiles will work. And if crocodiles are killed, then the threat to the native aquatic life will reduce actually. So if I negate E, it will break my conclusion, and therefore E is the correct answer. Clear, guys? Do let me know if this is clear. Let me know it's clear by just writing clear in the chat box, guys, so that I can bring up the last question of the session quickly. It's also based on causality framework, but this time I'll show you the framework for strengthened questions. So remember, thank you so much all of you by that clear thing. So now, if you're strengthening the causal argument, you can use the three assumptions. So, y did not cause x is using assumption 3 to strengthen the causal argument. No alternate cause is using assumption 2. And of course, the x happened before y is almost included in reverse relationship. Also, in order to strengthen the causality, if you prove that where there is no x there is no, where there is no cause there is no y, parallel, then also you can strengthen the causality. Or if you show that every time x happens then y happens again in a parallel scenario, then that will also strengthen the causality. Or if you show that whatever data has been used, whatever research has been used, that is all correct, that will also eliminate the possibility of the causality being wrong. So all of these, all right, would individually strengthen the causality. We'll take a screenshot of this and I'm going to bring up a question for you. Yes, Shubham, you're absolutely right. Choosing which part of the conclusion. So that is why I keep saying be very precise about the exact plan, the exact goal, the exact cause, the exact effect, and so on. All right, sometimes we fail in identifying the conclusion correctly and therefore we fail in the question. And the possibility is high of this happening in the exam when you're very rushed. So, guys, quickly, before I bring up the question, once again reminding you of the Black Friday sale. Those 6 months, 4 months, and 2 months courses are the full course. The only thing is you would have access for 2 months, you would have access for 4 months, and you would have access for 6 months, depending on what you have planned for yourself. You can access the both the quant and the verbal course at those like absolutely dirt cheap prices, the once in a year sale kind of thing. So, guys, I'll share the free trial link with you once I'm through with the next question. Let me bring it on. Here it is. Go ahead, guys. Let me mute myself. All right, guys, your answers. In the meantime, I am just going to quickly post the link to the free trial version of the course. and also for you to schedule a free call with our strategy experts for any of your queries. All right, so Anish has stated the answer could be C. What about the others? Sorry, excuse me. So Anish says C. Bhanu also believes it should be C. What about the others? Shubham, Abhiroop, Abhiram, Bhavya, Than, Priyank, Mohit, Jayesh. Yes. Let me see some more answers, guys. Would be nice to have interaction, even though we are on the last question. Again, remember, solving even 2 3 questions and getting the technique right can help you solve 10 20 30 questions correctly. Yeah, sure, I will unhighlight the link. Here it goes, Abhiram. I think now you can see the options. I have uh, un unhighlighted the free trial link. So yes, guys, the others, come up with your options. I just have Anish, Bhanu. Okay, Abhiram also believes it should be C. Yes, guys, the others, I can still see the numbers there, and at least some of you who have been responding regularly, please do let me know your answers. Okay, I guess the others are a little hesitant and holding on to their choices. Okay. Um, Let me get started with the explanation because we're running out of time here. All right. So when we start reading it, the stimulus gives us some information about a certain herb. Okay. Let's call that herb, let's say H. So H is a group of closely related plants. So H is a part of, let's call this closely related plants as CRP, closely related plants. So herb is a part of these closely related plants. It is also closely related to them. And these closely related plants thrive in soil which has high concentration of metals, and these metals are toxic to most other plants. So if I really draw a diagram here, let's say you have these other plants here, let's call these other plants, and then here you have uh, the CRP, right? Okay, so this is the toxic soil, all right, and these other plants cannot grow in this, the CRP can grow, and H is a part of this CRP. So probably we can draw the inference that maybe H is also growing in the this toxic soil. All right. So far so much of all these pieces of information are given to us. All right. Agronomists studying the growth of this herb. So people who are studying this herb have discovered that it produces large amounts of histidine. Okay, so this produces large amounts of histidine. And histidine, it's an amino acid and it makes the metals chemically inert. So basically, this histidine, okay, it makes the toxicity go away. Hence, the herb's high histidine production must be the key feature that allows the herb to grow in these toxic soils. So basically, based on all of this, the conclusion drawn is the cause is histidine and the effect is allow H to grow in toxic soil. All right. And I have to kind of strengthen this conclusion. So let's see, the conclusion reached is high histidine production must be the key feature. So the causality. The cause is production of large amounts of histidine. Herb effect is herb can grow in metal rich toxic soil. So that part is clear to all of us. All right here. And we have to strengthen this causality. We have to prove that the cause is really histidine and nothing else. Right? So if we put the framework into action, cause is histidine, effect is herb can grow in toxic soil. So if we remember our framework, y did not cause x. So in a way we are saying the metal rich soil was not the cause behind production of histidine. If you get a choice like this will strengthen your causality. And what is the causality? High histidine allows herb to grow. So y did not cause x. That is, the soil was not leading to the production of histidine. Will prove that it is the histidine which allows the plant to grow in the soil. Similarly, if we use the second point in the framework, z did not cause, there is no alternate cause. So we are saying the herb does not have any other special adaptations. Let me use the word other here, apart from histidine. It doesn't have any other adaptation that is helping it to survive. It is only the histidine which is helping it to survive. So I'm ruling out any alternate cause. In 3, I'm saying no X, no Y. So wherever histidine is not present, okay, then those plants don't thrive in toxic soil. Remember from a previous, if we go back to our previous diagram, here we know that the CRP grows in toxic soil. Okay, so if we can show that CRP does not have histidine but can grow, then that will weaken our conclusion. So if we have to show that either CRP also has histidine. Okay, so histidine, if it is absent in other plants, but they cannot, so the other plants which cannot grow in toxic soil, whether they have or they don't have histidine, if we can show. Similarly, if we can show that histidine is present in other plants that thrive in the metal rich soil. So other plants that thrive were the CRP, right? The closely related plants. If we show that histidine is present in them also, then that will also strengthen the conclusion. With these 4 possible, again, you don't have to think of all 4, but A, the herb can thrive in soil that does not have high concentration. So this is totally off, because where there is no concentration of toxic metal, then we are not concerned with that kind of soil, right? So A is out. B, herb's high level of histidine production is associated with the production of some other amino acid, but what that other amino acid is doing to the herb, we don't know. So this is again also totally out of scope. You answered C as the correct answer. Now look at C. Growing the herb in soil with high concentration metals will, over time, that means after it has grown for some years, it will reduce the concentration in the soil. But how will it grow initially? Will the histidine allow it to grow or not? We don't know. So our goal is to support the causality of histidine and growth. This is saying you grow it sometime in that bad soil, then the badness of the soil will go down. But what will help it to grow in the first place? That we don't know. Therefore, C is not the correct answer. The concentration of histidine in the growing herb declines as the plant approaches maturity. We are not concerned with that. This is also out of scope. The correct answer was E, guys. The others of the closely related group of plants also produce histidine. So if X, then Y. So these closely related plants that thrive in soil with high concentration of metal also have histidine, and that strengthens the causality. Is that clear, guys? Hello, Atapaku. No, unfortunately, C is not the correct answer. Guys, can you see why C is not the answer? Because C is telling us, first you let the plant grow, then the toxicity will go down. But what will help the plant to grow? That we don't know. That is what we have to prove. That is it the histidine which is helping it to grow or not? So guys, let me know by stating the word clear in your chat boxes so that I know it's very clear. Now, using these frameworks regularly will help you really, really. In my research, guys, while I was making the course that you see in GMAT Quiz, I found that indirectly or directly, at least 60% of the questions are causality based. And if you can recognize it, wonders for you. Similarly, plan goal questions that I have already discussed in the earlier half of the webinar. And then you also have the other two construction types which we could not discuss here. You can go and check out in the free trial version. All right. You will see that these frameworks do help you in the exam if you have practiced them during the practice stage. All right. So wonderful. It seems it's clear to all of you. If you have any queries, guys, in the meantime, once again, the Black Friday sale, guys, if you want the course for a period of 6 months, you're getting it at $199, both quant and verbal. Same thing for 4 months, quant and verbal, and same thing for 2 months. At $99, it's like really a deal. Okay, so if you are planning for round three at all, you might take this up. You can write to us and WhatsApp us at that number. In the meantime, I'm also going to once again share the link to the free trial version of the course and the link to set up a free call with our strategy experts. Guys, if you're interested, any other queries you have, I'm there. The free trial link is not working, Abhiram. Okay, just give me a moment. Let me double check on that. Why is it not working? Just give me a moment. Abhiram, let me. I have reposted the link. Okay, the free trial has an L missing. That is why I think. Hold on a second. The L has to be there. Okay. Abhiram, you can try it now. I think this should work. Let me know if it is working. Any other queries, guys, if you have? I'm there for another minute. I hope today's webinar did help you understand certain question construction types and that you'll be able to use it to tackle some of your CR questions. Okay, that's great, Abhiram. Sorry for the delay there. So, guys, for those of you who are at different stages of the preparation, all the best. Work hard. Just remember that whether it is SC, whether it is CR, or it is even RC, the main thing is to read the data properly. You would have seen that I was giving a lot of emphasis on reading the stimulus correctly, properly, identifying the conclusion correctly, and then only moving ahead. So, guys, all the best. Do check out those links, and I'll just once again post the link to the free call with our strategy experts so that, hold on a second. So, Abhiram, is it not working even? Hold on a second. All right. You're welcome, guys, all of you. That's the link to the Calendly. You can set up a free call with our strategy experts, guys. So, thank you very much, Solomon, Bhanu, Abhiram, Abhiroop. Then we've got Anish, Jayesh, Mohit, Priyank. Thank you so much. And I'm sorry if I've Shubham, if I've missed out any of your names. Thank you very much, guys. See you again. Good night and have a nice day if you're just beginning your day.